going live on Facebook. Thanks for all of you who have just joined on. If you know of somebody that'd like to learn more about nurses, health coaching, or nursing outside the box, we'd encourage you to share this broadcast with other people. Just post it on your timeline or share it with friends inside of a private group, maybe filled with nurses. So let me go ahead and kick off the recording, and we'll start episode 3 of Nursing Outside the Box. I'm David Bush, your co-host, along here with the wonderful, the outside the box nurse extraordinaire, Donnie Alvarenga. Donnie, welcome to the show today.
Thanks, David. I'm excited to talk today a little bit about the anatomy of well-being. You know, nurses.
Today's topic is going to be a powerful one. And so for those of you who have not seen this show before, you have basically 30 minutes of nonstop excitement, inspiration, motivation, ideas, and maybe a little bit of a challenge, Donnie. I know that you have oftentimes challenged our viewers to think outside the box and to think differently than maybe the way that they were trained or taught or brought up. So let's jump right in and talk a little bit more about the anatomy of well-being.
Well, you know, as nurses, we talk a lot about health, right? And we go to school for a long time to learn how to help people be healthy. And in that process, we actually study anatomy. And so we learn how things are supposed to work so that we can identify it if it's wrong. And this past week, I looked up the definition of health on Google. And actually, the Google definition, because, you know, if it's on Google, then it is true, right? So the Google definition is that health is the state of being free from illness or injury. And I thought that was so spot on when it comes to my nursing experience, because my job was to help people just not be sick, you know? But the reality is if people are not sick, are they truly healthy? I don't think that they necessarily are. David, can you share that little graph that we have?
Yeah, let me bring it up.
Yeah. So a lot of times we think, okay, if they're not sick, then they're healthy, but are they really? As a nurse, when I worked inside the hospital, my job was to get them healthy enough so they can get out of the hospital. But oftentimes they weren't really healthy as we wheeled them out. And then when I worked in outpatient, then it was to help them stay healthy enough so they didn't get back into the hospital, right? And so when we look at this continuum, what color do you want to be, David?
Yeah, dark or light blue would probably be a really good color for me, wouldn't you think? That's why I'm wearing this blue shirt today.
There you go. And you know, according to this definition on Google, really they're saying that if you're not yellow, like if you're just in the green zone, then that's health. But what we want to do at Nursing Outside the Box is to help people get to that blue. You know, we don't want people to just survive. We don't want people to just barely squeak by. We want them to thrive. And if we're talking about that, then it's about so much more than even just physical health, right?
Yeah, I would say that even in the healthcare realms, Donnie, wouldn't you say that it's not even green? It's almost like a darker orange that is non-sick. It's not even considered to be healthy. It's just absence of a immediate disease. But there's a lot of people that are not in a critical care environment, or they're not unhealthy, but they're pre-diabetic, or they have high blood pressure, or they are inactive, which many of the different clinical studies say that if a person is inactive, it's the equivalent of smoking, actually worse than smoking. So to actually think that you're a non-smoker, but because of your sedentary lifestyle and not being an active person, you could have the same health issues or similar health issues as a smoker. Seems kind of unbelievable to people, but that's the truth. And that's the awakening that we'd like to provide you today.
Well, I think that what happens is that subliminally, you know, after years and years of working in this industry where our goal is to help people just get healthy enough, that as nurses, we start believing that that's our goal. Our goal is to just stay healthy enough to make it to the end of life and say, I survived it. And that's not enough for me. I really want more for myself, and I would love to empower those that want more. And that's why we started Nursing Outside the Box, is to really help nurses think outside of what is expected, more than just surviving. And, you know, in nursing school, they teach us this holistic approach to health. We know that health is about so much more than just the body. So we've been trained body, mind, and spirit. which is wonderful. All of those areas are so essential to being overall well, right? But there's more to it than that. I personally believe that it's incomplete, that there's more to being really well and thriving in life than just healthy body, healthy mind, and healthy spirit. Do you want to chat a little bit about that, David?
Yeah, and so many people just struggle with those three things, right? I mean, just the idea of a healthy body. What does that look like in today's times? As we get older, it gets a little harder to stay active. We're running around with kids or grandkids, or maybe we're working double shifts, or we're working nights, and we're having a hard time just adjusting to trying to be energetic and active when we just don't feel like it. And then you throw in maybe some of the tough times that people have fallen on, whether that be financial stress, whether that be career stress, being in a job that they don't like, or maybe being in a position where their spirit's just crushed, their faith, they're missing something, they're missing a sense of purpose and meaning in their life. And so those three in itself provide a challenge, but it goes beyond that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what we feel like is missing in that holistic approach.
Well, the Gallup scientists actually did some research to find out what is it that makes people really thrive in life. And they identified 5 different areas, not just 3. And I believe that the 3, body, mind, and spirit, really fit into these 5 that they identified. And they explored over 98% of, I believe, of the population of the world in over 150 countries to find out what is that? And I love the way that they described it. It's currency of a life that matters. And so it's really just taking it up a notch, not just surviving, but really thriving. And those 5 areas were career, social, community, physical, and financial. So there's these, did I say all 5 of them right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I thought I missed one. And a lot of times, as when we think about the body, mind, and spirit, we sometimes focus in on this, the social, and the spiritual, but we really neglect, I don't think that we dive into as much the whole financial and the vocational or the career well-being. And I think that part of that is because within healthcare, when we're thinking about our patients, we don't know how to affect that. How can we affect their finances? And the reason I keep going back to us as nurses is because that's how we define ourselves, is by what we do. But what we're trying to do in Nursing Outside the Box is to shift that paradigm, not only in what you can do for your patients, but really what you can do for yourself. And out of those 5 areas, which one would you like to share? Which one is that's most important?
Well, I'd like to have maybe some people throw in their comments on what they think is the top 5. Let's just go up there, and if you think that career is the most important factor to well-being, put that in the comments down below. If you think that it's social or community, financial, or physical, cast your vote and put in the comments down below what you feel is the most important aspect of one's well-being that affects the greater score overall. So cast your vote, and I can tell you, Donnie, I got this wrong. I was a little bit fooled. So for those of you who think that you may know the right answer, you may have to think a little bit more outside the box to see maybe how this one aspect could affect other areas of your life in a greater way. So thanks everybody for participating. I appreciate it. And if those of you that are watching the recording, you will probably see some of these answers popping up. But for those of you that are joining us live, thanks for joining in. Donnie, you want to give us the final answer?
Well, I was thinking before we dive into the final answer, I wanted to break down each of those items a little bit.
Oh, I like it. You're going to make them work for it. You're going to make them wait. I love it.
They can keep guessing for a little while longer. So, if we talk about vocational well-being, right? What is that? What is that? That's the time that we spend doing the things that we do most of the day, right? Most of us work for a living. And so most of the time we're actually working to earn money so that we can pay for whatever we need to pay for. And the bulk of our time actually is spent in that. And so when this is a graph that was put out by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and it just broke down the day for those in 2015. And so you can see that the bulk of the time is the green zone right there, is work-related activities. And so vocational well-being is what you spend your time with and how much you enjoy that. right? So that's that first part is the vocational or career well-being. And so the question is, how much time do you spend on work-related or income-related activities? And on a scale from 1 to 10, how much do you love it? 10 being I absolutely, like, I wake up in the morning and I cannot wait. And 1 being like, oh my goodness. Actually, I just saw this cute little video on Facebook this past week of this kid attached to a Ferris wheel. And they were just dragging around the Ferris wheel. And I was thinking, wow, Ferris wheel is fun, and here this person is dragging around. Maybe they just hated the Ferris wheel. I don't know. But the bottom line is, are you dragging through each of your days, or are you getting up excited because you get to spend time doing things you love? That's that career well-being. Now, the next one is financial, right? So part of why we spend so much time is because we've got bills to pay. You want to talk a little bit about that one, David?
Yeah, well, obviously we have things that we have to take care of, and whether that's paying bills or whether it's organizing our finances. And, oftentimes people are not necessarily spending the amount of time in that area that they should. And so they have a certain sense of financial insecurity or a lack of peace in their life, which often causes other things to begin to get out of whack. Relationships, they say that more than 50% of the divorces in America happen because of a lack of finances. So just a lack of having an extra $500 a month to pay the car payment or to buy the groceries or to go on vacations can oftentimes rob a person of financial well-being and all the other areas of life as well. So yeah, financial well-being extremely important to the overall well-being of a human being.
That graph that we shared in the beginning, the arrow, that can be applied to every single one of these 5 areas, right? So how healthy are you in terms of your career? And how healthy are you in terms of your finances? I mentioned that, we have bills to pay. That's just barely surviving, right? That's having enough to survive. But when we talk about really thriving and that optimal blue zone that we talked about, do you have money to create the memories like you were talking about? That's a little bit beyond just the bare necessities. Going on vacation, is that essential to well-being? Absolutely. According to these Gallup scientists, they're talking about all these different areas that comprise a life that, what was it that they said? It was the currency of a life that matters, right? So that's the financial piece. And you're absolutely right. If any one of these areas is falling short, it tends to spill over into the others. So here we've talked about our career, we've talked about finances. How about community? Or you talked about relationships. So let's go into the social, right? So the social is where we actually talk about our relationships, the quality and the quantity of our relationships. And so, yes, finances affect marriages, but not having time affects marriages too, right?
Yeah, very much so. I heard a speaker recently talking about happiness and how happiness was connected back to who or to. It wasn't necessarily connected to what. So people in their acquiring of new things or a new car or, some sort of a new TV or something that they think is going to give them a sense of happiness. Maybe in your world, Donnie, it's shoes. I don't know. But in many of our lives, we have things that we think that are going to make us happy or more well. And at the end of the day, it's not necessarily those things that we're thinking about at the end of life, right? We're not thinking about, if I could only just buy another television. It's oftentimes the relationships and a lack of quality relationships. It doesn't mean that you have to have thousands of people around you, but having people that are of like mind, that are encouraging to you, that are supportive of you. If you're in a negative relationship, or if you're in a negative work environment where it's toxic and the coworkers are not supportive of maybe things that you'd like to be, do, or have, that can really start to weigh down on you. And oftentimes we've found that people that are overweight physically are oftentimes people that don't have healthy social circles that are encouraging them to do the things that they want to do, which is to live a healthy lifestyle.
That is such a perfect example of how our social environment can affect our physical health, right? So our social health can affect our physical health. But absolutely, the quality and the quantity of our relationship, whether that's, with parents or with the spouse or with children or with friends, the bottom line is that the currency there is time. You can't build a relationship without time. And yet, what is it that sucks most of the time out of our life? You want to put up that image again, David, the one of the pie? I don't remember if that image has any time for family, does it?
Caring for others.
Okay, caring for others. And others, 1.5 hours. The bottom line is that the green and the blue, right? The green and the blue, they kind of squeeze everything out. And if we don't have the time to invest into the relationships, we're not going to be as healthy as we want the relationships to be.
And most of our nurses, Donnie, are most of our viewers are nurses. And I would say that this is not average for them, because it's not taking into consideration a double shift. It's not taking into consideration the fact that they're oftentimes caring for young kids that take more than 1.2 hours per day. And there's oftentimes household activities that are requiring more time out of their day or weekend. And, the idea of eating and drinking 1 hour a day, I don't know. I mean, sometimes it's the idea of getting out and getting something fast. 1 hour is a very short period of time. So I would say that it would be even more slanted towards more green, less blue, and a couple of those other areas being not getting done, which is oftentimes causing stress in a person's life.
Well, I actually spoke with a nurse a couple weeks ago, which was not an unusual conversation. And she was sharing with me that she hated that she had to take her daughter to childcare when she was still half asleep. And then by the time she got home from work, her daughter was already in bed. So for 3 days a week, she barely even saw her daughter. And that broke her heart. And as much as she loved being a nurse, the fact that her work was taking her away from the relationship that she wanted, which was what you were just talking about, the who and the to, right? And she was working for the what? She was working for the mortgage. She was working for the light. And that was not what was making her happy. It was actually sucking some of the happiness out of her. And so that's the social aspect. The community is our involvement in the community, feeling engaged, And when we think about not having time for our immediate family, how much time do you think we actually have for volunteer work?
Yeah, volunteering is something that is very sparse. And while, many people think that, well, if I'm a nurse, I'm volunteering at my job. But oftentimes it's not necessarily that place that gives you that sense of fulfillment, that sense of purpose or significance, because oftentimes you don't have the time to create those meaningful relationships with more and more healthcare demands requiring you to do more with less time, more paperwork. It's becoming more of an administrative job than it is actually the relationship job that maybe you thought it was going to be, and how you thought you were going to be able to give back and have purpose and mission in your work. You may have had that to be drowned out by paperwork. So a lot of things being considered here, and I know that we're kind of sharing some truth here, and that truth is not always exciting, but there is some good news, and we're going to get to it in just a moment, because we're going to give you some strategies that can help you to start taking action in improving the quality of your well-being with just some small, simple steps. So stay tuned, and we'll wrap up here shortly.
I never thought about my community involvement affecting my well-being. I never thought about it. But, I actually went on a mission trip one year. And as I was talking to the directors of the mission trip, they mentioned how me being there was very selfish. And I was like, what? I just raised like over $1,000 for me to come on this trip to work my butt off. I'm being selfish. But at the end of it, I thought about it. I was like, it's so true. I probably got more out of it than anybody that I helped that week. And there's this feel-good currency that we need to fill our banks with. And that's what community service and giving back does for us. And unfortunately, a lot of times we don't have enough time for that. And that sucks some of the well-being out of our existence. And so that's the community. And then, of course, there's the physical, and that's kind of a given, right? If we're not physically well, and that's what this is the language that nurses speak, is usually the physical well-being, then, of course, we're not going to be overall well. And so now that we've kind of covered all five, we can kind of see that there's one underlying thread, right, that kind of pulls through all of them that seems to take away the opportunities for enjoying each of those areas. Do you want to share what it was?
Yeah. Most of us saw the graph. If you just joined us, you can go back and scroll back a little bit, but you can see the graph that was the career was taking up so much of our day, our waking hours. We're spending more than half of our time outside of sleep in our work environment. And if that is not a place that provides those different aspects and it actually draws away from you, it's toxic to a certain extent, or it's exhausting you to not be able to do those other things, then that's where you are going to see the greatest improvement to your overall well-being, is being in a career that allows you to have the impact to be able to create the financial well-being in your life. And it doesn't mean that you have to be rich or you have to have opulent wealth or power or privilege. While that may be nice for some people, this is more about you having the ability to do the things that you want to be able to do, and to do them in such a way that makes you feel like you're living out your purpose and your calling while still affecting all those other areas of well-being.
Yeah. And so one of the articles that I was reading, it mentioned that people that have career well-being, they're twice as likely to have well-being in all the other areas than others. And so it's arguably the most important, because it's the where we spend the bulk of our time. And when we talk about being healthy, most often there's like this to-do list of things that we need to do. You know, we need to get sleep and we need to drink water, and you know, that's the physical aspect of things. So what are some of the things that people can do to improve their vocational health?
Yeah, I think that one is just to stop and challenge what you're currently doing in the environment that you're in, and really evaluate it, and evaluate whether or not it's meeting those needs, or maybe if it's taking away from those different areas of life. If it's causing you to take away from the healthy lifestyle that you want to live physically, is it not providing the amount of financial resources that are necessary to live the life that you imagine? If it's, you know, not providing you the freedom or flexibility to go do the things that you want to do, whether it's a missions trip or whether it's, you know, the ability to come home and have the energy to go do the things in your community that you want to do, or to maybe follow up on that hobby and to take the time to go spend time with friends, family members, coworkers. If you're not given that opportunity to do those things, then it might be time to explore some additional career opportunities. That may be inside the box of traditional healthcare, or it may be where Donnie and I reside, which is outside the box, doing something that's maybe a little non-traditional in your mind, maybe not necessarily the thing that you went to school for, but that has tremendous opportunity to provide you the vocational well-being that you so desire, and all those other different aspects of well-being as well.
What we really hope to do with bringing up this whole anatomy of well-being is to really create a framework for people to evaluate their lives and decide where is it that they need to make adjustments. You know, it was only when I knew what I was looking for that I could find what I was looking for. And I knew that I wanted to have time to spend with my kids. I knew that I wanted to be there when they took their first steps. I knew that I was the one that wanted to teach them how to read. I knew that I wanted to be that person. And so understanding that about myself, having that insight, also knowing that I did have bills to pay, you know, and I did have the lights to keep on and the mortgage to pay. I knew that I needed to do something to generate a revenue. And you know, in the 16 years that I worked as a nurse, the entire time I was trying to figure out, how can I help people be healthy? And it's such a crazy question, I think, to ask when you work in healthcare. How can I help people be healthy? But, you know, when I looked at that definition of health today on Google, it totally made sense to me, because I thought I was going to go into healthcare to help people be healthy, but I was going into healthcare to help people not be sick. And they're two separate things. And health coaching has offered me the opportunity to kind of find the balance in all 5 of those areas. You know, I feel like I'm helping people because I am. Now I'm helping them come off of medications, and I'm helping them be able to do things they never imagined possible. Whereas a nurse practitioner or as a nurse, I just help them manage that problem with the medications that they were given. And that gives me a huge sense of vocational well-being, you know, where I feel like I'm doing what I wanted to do. And then in terms of the social, I get to homeschool my kids. I get to be the stay-at-home mom that I always wanted to be. And, you know, in our book, Nurses Health Coaching, we kind of dissect the whole story, don't we?
Yeah, we really take this to the next level. And so for those of you who have not had a chance to read the ebook that we've created, you can go download it and just visit nurseshealthcoaching.com and click on the free ebook tab. And you can get a little bit more of a detailed breakdown of some of the topics that we talked about today, as well as see some great stories, including Donnie's detailed story of how she went from being somebody that wasn't very well, who has now created a vibrant sense of well-being and is now giving that to many other people, including other nurses. And that may be something that might be a good fit for you. Donnie, I've seen many nurses that have embraced the idea of health coaching, not necessarily for what it did for their career, but what it did for them personally to get their physical health back. Because by having a good process and program, it's a lifestyle-based program, they were able to live a healthier lifestyle, whether it was to lose weight, get fit, or optimize their health. They used the health coaching program as a support system for themselves. And oftentimes nurses are taking care of everybody else, that they don't have somebody that's invested in their health. And that's what a health coach can do for you. And when you become a health coach, you also have this opportunity to be able to have dreams again, because it's a revenue creating opportunity, and you can do it in your spare time, you can do it part-time, or you can do it as Donnie and I do full-time. It's totally up to you, but you can use it as an opportunity to bring life and hope back to your life. And you can also partner with your spouse, where Donnie and her spouse have actually partnered in helping people to get healthier. And oftentimes that in itself will bring a relationship closer. And because you're generating additional income and you're influencing friends' lives, you're oftentimes bringing friends and family members back into your life that maybe have not necessarily been there. And then there's those total strangers that just become part of a greater community and a greater social network, where Donnie and I didn't know each other. 7 years ago, I was 100 pounds overweight, and I connected to a health coach who was a friend of mine. And I got healthier, and I got connected to Donnie, who has given me great sense of energy. She gives me hope and inspiration. And we're just peers. We're just people doing something that's common together. And we've had a chance to empower other people to be a part of this dynamic community. And we hope at some level that you join us, whether it's just to provide you some guidance, to give you a free ebook, to give you a comprehensive consultation and a well-being evaluation that helps you to move forward in your life. Anything that we can do to serve you, we'd love to help you.
Our goal is to empower nurses to find more flexibility, purpose, and balance in their life. And it all begins with understanding what it is that we want and how to get there. And what we've been doing in the last couple of weeks is really offering a framework to help nurses analyze that. As you mentioned, we have a well-being evaluation that we'd be very happy to share. We also have a report of 77 different ways of doing nursing outside the box that we would absolutely love to share. You know, maybe in terms of the vocation, maybe health coaching isn't for you. Maybe health coaching would just be good for you in terms of the physical health. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is that we want to empower you to develop the life that you want. We want you to think outside the box and realize it is possible. And in the process, we'll share how we've been able to do it. And so what are some of the things people can do this next week, David, as they move towards that life?
Yeah, well, just a real quick example is that I had a nurse that was in a position where she was really feeling stressed in a toxic work environment, constantly asked to work overtime, and she actually decided to make a move in her career. She evaluated where she was at, and she said, this is not what I wanted to do. And she actually found another position, another nursing position inside of a retirement home. And then she said, you know what, now this has given me a sense of vocational security and vocational peace of mind. Now I want to go to work on me. And so we had a chance to connect. She completed the well-being evaluation, and we talked a little bit more about some of the areas that she wanted to improve. And I helped her to create an action plan. She had some medical issues and some dietary issues that were pretty strenuous on her, that were creating a lot of stress just because it took a lot of time, effort to plan and portion size and prepare everything. So I gave her a real simple plan that met her dietary needs and helped her to get moving on her health journey. And she's super pumped. She's dropped some pounds. She's starting to eat all frequently throughout the day. She's more prepared when she's in her work environment. She's enjoying her new career and her new supervisor. And now she's actually interested in learning how she can help others to become a health coach, or she's interested in becoming a health coach so she can help other people to do what she did. So in that simple pathway, number one, get the well-being evaluation. It's a great way just to review your current reality. And then meet with us to talk about your action plan. Of course, you can do it on your own, but sometimes the DIY model doesn't necessarily create the outcomes that you're looking for because you don't have that perspective. You don't know what you don't know. So if we can end up sharing some insights and giving you some additional ideas or resources to evaluate to see if many of those may be an assistance to you, we believe we can create a better plan together. And if health coaching is in your future, if you want to get healthier with the help of a health coach, or whether you want to do it on your own, that's up to you. But we would love to serve and support you and help you to move through that plan and get you to where you want to go so that you can go out there and tell other people how we've helped you. So any final thoughts as we wrap up here today, Donnie?
Well-being is about a lot more than physical health. And what we want to do is we want to empower everybody that's watching today to experience the highest level possible in all aspects of their life.
Great. Well, if anybody got the right answer, go ahead and gloat now and comment down below that you got the right answer. And if you didn't, you can still brag that you were close to being right. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week, next Wednesday, 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be talking about the qualities of life. And these are the things that we broke down in our ebook, Nurses Health Coaching. And it was the idea of how to create more flexibility, purpose, and balance in your life. We're going to talk about those 3 different aspects and how to incorporate more of that into your life. So join us next Wednesday. We'll look forward to seeing you all soon. And if you like this, share it with somebody else. We'd appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye.